We're barely 2 months into the second Trump presidency, and the Department of Government Efficiency, DOGE, led by Elon Musk, has been on a torrid pace of slashing federal jobs and programs. Joining us now to talk about a couple of the targets, SUNY Chancellor John King. Chancellor, always great to catch up with you. Thanks for being here.
Good to see you.
Let's start with SUNY Upstate Medical. DOGE slashing funding, or they want to, for the National Institute of Health. What kind of impact is that going to have specifically on SUNY Upstate?
Well, the cuts that have been proposed to National Institutes of Health grants would translate into about a $79 million loss for SUNY system overall, and about a $5 million loss for grants at Upstate. We're talking about grants focused on things like Alzheimer's research. It would be very distressing to see a retreat from the traditional federal role in supporting health research that helps improve the quality of life for all Americans.
Do you have, you mentioned Alzheimer's. What are some of the other types of programs that they do there that could potentially be impacted?
Well, there's work that they're doing on drug treatments for cancer patients. Again, it would be shocking to see a retreat from the federal commitment to that kind of research that makes a life-saving difference for our citizens. They also are doing work on a lupus drug at Upstate that would also be impacted. So at the end of the day, what we see across SUNY is a real threat to our work to help improve people's quality of life. And I'm hopeful that we will see Congress step in here. The courts already have. The Attorney General has led on litigation challenging the cuts, and they've been frozen by a court so far.
So far, but what we still remain to be seen if we're going to be able to. Would it need congressional action, or are we able to accomplish this in the courts?
Well, it's interesting. Congress already passed a law saying that there could not be these kinds of arbitrary changes to the way universities are provided funding for research. That's why we think we will be successful in the courts. But we'll need Congress to make sure that that protection is continued going forward. It was included in the recent continuing resolution adopted by Congress. So we're optimistic that members of Congress on both sides of the aisle understand how important research is to the quality of life of their constituents and to the health of our universities.
Obviously, it's a major piece of this, but cuts aside, what do you think, what kind of maybe chilling effect, for lack of a better term, might this all have on researchers, future projects, and future studies?
Well, we're very concerned that researchers now feel afraid. They are worried about whether there's a future of federal grant support for the work that they're doing. A particular chilling effect we're worried about is an impact on health disparities research because of the administration's views on issues of diversity. We're already seeing the cancellation of some grants within New York and around the country focus on health disparities, which, again, is a real departure from a long tradition of the federal government supporting research that tries to address health disparities, like the fact that African-American women are significantly more likely to die in childbirth than white women. We ought to be doing everything we can to close those gaps. Be ashamed to lose the important research in that area.
Chancellor, I also want to, while I have you, just a couple of minutes left, I do want to ask you also about the dismantling of the U.S. Department of Education. You, of course, led this department under President Obama, so I'm curious what your reaction is to this plan to tear it down.
I'm heartbroken. It's such a huge threat to important federal support for education. The Education Department provides funding for vulnerable students, low-income students, students with disabilities. The Education Department supports our student financial aid system that makes it possible for so many Americans to pursue a college education. Almost half of our entering students at SUNY are eligible for the Pell Grant program, which the department administers. And the department has a crucial role protecting civil rights, acting on complaints around discrimination against students with disabilities or students of color or based on religion. And so there's a vital federal role. Again, this is a place where the courts and Congress will need to step in.
Last question. I got 30 seconds for you. How quickly could we see those effects? Because sometimes you hear this stuff and you wonder when and how will it affect me personally, but, you know, for us in central New York and I guess the New York State overall, how we could potentially feel this.
Unfortunately, we're already seeing the harm. Last week, the free application for federal student aid, which is really the gateway to the federal financial aid system, went down. When they called the folks who would usually fix it, they didn't answer because they'd been laid off. Now, they got it back up and running, but I'm worried we're going to see more disruptions like that. We also know that for students who are being discriminated against, students with disabilities who aren't getting the services they're entitled to, they will now have a much longer wait to get help from the government. That's bad for everyone.
Yeah, SUNY Chancellor John King, I always appreciate catching up with you. We'll have to do this again really soon, hopefully on a more positive topic. Thank you, Chancellor.
Absolutely. Good to see you.